Ferdinand Magellan organized and launched the first expedition to circumnavigate the globe from 1519 to 1522. The expedition consisted of 5 ships: Trinidad, San Antonio, Concepcion, Santiago, and lastly Victoria. The only ship which completed the journey and made it back to Spain under the command of Juan Sebastián Elcano. The crew numbered around 270 men, mainly Spaniards, but also 40 Portuguese. Members of other nations were also recorded, including 29 Italians, 17 French, and a smaller number of Flemish, Greek, Irish, English, Asian, and black sailors. Counted among the Spanish crew members were at least 29 Basques, including Juan Sebastián Elcano, some of whom did not speak Spanish fluently. In 1521, Magellan reached portions of the Philippine Islands, which he named the Islas de San Lázaro, and claimed for the Spanish crown and promptly got involved in the rivalries of local chieftains. He had managed to secure the allegiance or submission of these chiefs, the most important being Raja Humabon of Cebu. But one chief did not submit: Lapu-Lapu. The Battle of Mactan took place in the archipelago of the Philippines on April 27, 1521. The indigenous warriors under the chieftain Lapu-Lapu overpowered and killed Magellan and 8 of his men. The small Spanish force retreated in disordered panic to the ships and left the islands. Thanks to the Italian chronicler Antonio Pigafetta's eyewitness account, the events of the battle have been preserved. Magellan fervently believed that his men were so superior to the natives that he only deployed 49 of his crew to face off against a force of 1,500 enraged natives. He was so confident that he refused the help of his allies, Raja Humabon and Datu Zula, and asked them to just observe the battle. According to Pigafetta, they arrived at the distant shores of Mactan 3 hours before sunrise. Magellan sent a message to the natives saying that if they still refused to recognize the Spanish king and pay them tribute, they would demonstrate how effective their swords and armor were. The boats of the Europeans were unable to approach the shore, supposedly because of rocks or corals in the water, which also prevented the large ships from supporting Magellan with their artillery. When the sun rose in the morning, Magellan and his men left their boats, leaving 11 men behind. They had to wade 3 crossbow flights with water up to their thighs before they could reach the shore. Magellan divided his small force into 2 and ordered his men to engage the local warriors with their arquebuses and crossbows. However, the missiles had little appreciable effect since the local fighters were at the extreme range of the Europeans' projectiles. Furthermore, Lapu-Lapu's warriors dodged the bullets and crossbow bolts with great dexterity. Apparently, the shields of the warriors of Mactan were made of light materials and were easily pierced by the European missiles, but this had no effect on the warrior wielding the shield. Despite his best efforts, Magellan was unable to stop his men from wasting their bullets and gunpowder, and the Europeans kept up their missile fire for almost half an hour. In response, Lapu-Lapu's warriors subjected the Europeans to a heavy and demoralizing barrage of arrows, spears, fire-hardened sticks, and even stones. Magellan was hit by an arrow and called for an orderly withdrawal, though his men were so shaken and demoralized that they beat a hasty and undisciplined retreat, abandoning Magellan with just 6 or 8 men. Magellan tried to cover his army's retreat with his remaining soldiers. Antonio Pigafetta recounts,
"When they saw us, they charged down upon us with exceeding loud cries, 2 divisions on our flanks and the other on our front. The natives shot only at our legs, for the latter were bare, and so many were the spears and stones that they hurled at us that we could offer no resistance. We continued to retire from the shore, always fighting up to our knees in the water. The natives continued to pursue us, and picking up the same spear 4 or 6 times, hurled it at us again and again. One of them wounded Magellan on the left leg with a large cutlass, which resembles a scimitar only being larger. That caused the captain to fall face downward, when immediately they rushed upon him with iron and bamboo spears, and with their cutlasses until they killed our mirror, our light, our comfort, and our true guide.
Out of the 270 men on the 5 ships, only 18 survived, including Antonio Pigafetta and led by Juan Sebastián Elcano. Dressed in tattered clothes, famished and suffering from scurvy, they finally returned to Spain aboard the ship Victoria in September 1522. This had been an extraordinary voyage through storms and drought. Encounters with hostile tribes, mutiny, sickness and starvation had decimated the expedition's crew. Despite these extreme challenges and hardships, the voyage forever altered the world's ideas about cosmology, geography, and much else besides.